Hello everybody, Woodenrailwayonly here, and today I have a brand new Thomas Wooden Railway layout. Now this will be seen in Season 4 of my series, Tales on the Rails, and I'm very excited to show you this, because it's taken a little bit to get this up. Now as you can see, compared to the last layout, this one is much more spaced out, and I quite enjoy that. But that limited a little bit of things I had to do. So this layout may seem big, but at the same time it's small in its own way. So let's get started. But first, a quick overview. I quite enjoy this layout. I like what I did here. And there's a couple new destinations and some new engines and some updates on Season 4. So yes, let's start over at Knapford Station. So here we have Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle, and James with the Express. Now this James is a 2002 James. I quite like using this one, and it may be seen from now on. But anyways, I'll get to that later in the Season 4 update. Here's Thomas, and it's just a V-switch, and there's Spencer, and there's Henry. As you can see, yes, there are 4 express coaches here. Pretty neat. So here's the V-switch, and it comes over to this over-the-track signal. And here's the switch. Now if we go this way, straight, it goes to what I like to call the Knapford Sheds. And then we have Stanley, Reneas, Peter, Sam, and Hank all sitting around in the shed. Hank's line just goes back there into a siding. This line just comes around and goes up Gordon's sailboat, which we'll get to that later. Right now, this line right here, it comes up. The layout's a little tight over here. To the quarry mine tunnel, up and over to where Diesel is pulling a goods train over to the Suttery Swing Bridge and down. And here's a switch at the bottom, and here's Percy underneath the coal hopper. You'll be seeing a lot of Percy because I just want to give a couple of references. Like, this is actually not the normal Percy. This is the coal/dust covered Percy from Percy's Chocolate Crunch, and I guess coal just spilled over him. So there's a reference. And then here's the Chinese dragon at the carousel. Now over here, there's another switch, and here's this Boulder Adventure. We'll call it Boulder Hill instead of Boulder Mountain. That's just a sighting. And then if there's another switch over here, and it just comes around into the cement works is what I'm calling this. So here's Fergus, Bill, Ben, and Arthur. Arthur's pulling the cement works cars, and there's just a buffer, and back here is just a siding. So a siding and a siding. Fergus runs this place, so remember, just do it right. And then this line just comes out to a switch and over to another over-the-track signal to a T-switch. And then over here is just a little section of a road. Really unnecessary, but there is nowhere else to put these 2 ramps. And so yes, this is a new destination in the cement works. You'll be seeing some more stuff. So anyways, at this T-switch we're going to go here, and it's just going to come around. Here's what I like to call the fishing village, Arthur's line. There's a tugboat, and then there is the Sodor fishing crane. Here are 2 switches, and basically this line right here, if you were to go through, goes under Echo Tunnel. It goes through to where supposedly Wilbert was talking to Elizabeth, but Elizabeth has come off the road, so Butch is on his way. And it comes around into the sheds. And so here is Gordon, and I guess Edward's taking a rest. He's pretty tired. There's Duncan. And it just comes through to where Neville's pulling a train back through and to another switch. So yes, that is all. That line is just a little loop. Anyways, if you continue on, here is Ellsbridge Station. And up here is a T-switch, which goes underneath this line that Diesel's on. So at the T-switch, here is Donald and Douglas. And they're debating over who's going, because Donald's got the honey car and Douglas has got the sugar car. And there is Jack Frost Percy. You know the one. Hello, James. One of my favorite lines. It's pretty cool. I love that episode. Jack Frost. But anyways, this line back here just comes around, goes over the 3-in-1 viaduct, down through and into the station. Now, back at the station, here's Henry and Spencer, and this line just comes up and around, or around and up rather. So yes, that is that. And these things will not be here for too long. I have elevated track foundations on the way, so that will replace some of this and then maybe a little section over. So keep going. It keeps going to the stop and go station. Here's Daisy at Tidmouth Station, a new destination of mine, which is pretty cool. I quite like it. One thing I actually do like from Mattel, as you can see, I don't really buy a lot of Mattel destinations. They're not that great. This one's okay. Anyways, I'm rambling. Here is a switch, and, well, here's Frank, and he's loading up duck. So this is the Arsberg line. So this is the chute, and there's Frank with some ballast trucks and ducks being loaded up. That line down there just goes to a buffer. And down here, this is the Arsberg line, or the minimum gauge line. Just goes down and around. There's a switch with the siding. And this just literally goes all the way through. There's a shed which I used. It is the work shed, which is currently a shed for the minimum gauge. There's Mike, and then this line back here just goes under the rumbling bridge, goes around and through and back. So it's a little loop, and there's a station. So that's pretty cool. And I decided to do this because we're getting some new characters, or not exactly new, but Mike and Bert have been confirmed for the Wooden Railway line, and I can't wait to get them because I sort of promised you guys on Twitter that I would do a spin-off series, and that's what this line is for. So it's sort of like Duck's line. So yep. Anyways, continuing. So there's Duck. This line just goes from behind and then goes under Henry's tunnel to where Dennis is, back up to this switch, to some more switches, and this line just goes literally right next to the minimum gauge station, so that's pretty cool. And then this line over here takes a switch, and here's Thomas with a jet engine. Yes, we've already seen Thomas before, so another reference. I like this episode, Thomas and the jet engine. Oh, both seasons, all 4 of them have been season 6 references, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's go this way. Here is Ari and Colin, and this line just goes back under a bridge into the scrapyard. And I guess the line's off a little bit, but that's okay. So here is the smelter shed, and then there is Reg. That line just basically comes around, and there's Bert. And then I decided to connect this because I was running out of switches. But anyways, this goes straight into the clay pits. And this line just comes around over to the fossil discovery, and then to a switch, and that's pretty much it, as that line just comes around through and back to where we were. And so excuse background noises, but anyways, there is the slope up, and there's Timothy at the top with a ton of clay cars, and there's Marion down there. So anyways, if we continue on, here is another stop and go station, and it goes through to Brendam Docks. So here at Brendam Docks, it's quite a little area, and it's got 4 switches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so there's the lighthouse bridge, and back here is Cranky being loading Percy up. Here's a regular Percy, 2002 Percy. Here's the gantry crane, and here's Bulstrode. So basically, the line comes through, and it can go back out, or we can go around to where there's 3 Tidmouth milk tankers, and there's Boko, and that's basically the docks. I quite like it. And so anyways, there's only really one way out of this. If you're coming in this way, the only way out is going that way. So, yeah. But let's continue on by going this way. So here we have this mountain tunnel, I don't even know. I don't know what it's called, maybe mountain fountain, no. Mountain waterfall, that's what it is. It's the mountain waterfall tunnel. So here is Captain's shed. Come around, and there's the ice cream factory. And another switch, and we're back to that T-switch from back a couple minutes ago. Then we're going to go this way. Here's a switch, another stop and go station. So I believe that is 3 now. Quite have a lot. And it goes through this line to where Great Waterton Station is. And that's just right next to the docks. So that's pretty cool. And then there's the road back here, and there's Birdie. And so here is, back here, there's a lighthouse. Not quite sure what that's doing there. I might have to move that. Oh well. Here is the cargo transfer station, another new destination of mine. Quite like this. I like the road pieces, and they're all cool. And so, yeah, that's that. Just keep going on. And then this line goes back to a bumpy track, and there's Emily with the rock crusher cars. And here is the hangar, Jeremy's hangar, and the airport. And then there is the airfield, Tigermouth. So yeah, that's basically the whole line, and that line just converges back to where we were before. Now we're going to follow the road. So here we have a green Tommy Bulgy, and that will be explained later on in my series, what he's doing there. Back to Birdie, and he just comes around into the cement works. And over here, it goes through a rail crossing. I've had this before, but mine sort of got ruined, so I bought a new one. So I guess that's technically new. That just comes around, and there's a chocolate-covered Percy, another reference. Percy's Chocolate Crunch. And the line just goes back through to the level crossing. So that is the road that we just followed. That's pretty cool. So yeah, there's road on the layout. And then I'm going to go over here. Now this line came from the docks, and it just goes up over a bay bridge. And here's Harvey with the breakdown crane crew, I guess. It's 2 breakdown cranes. Or train. The breakdown train. There we go. Over the suspension bridge to a V-switch into Henry's Tunnel. And if you go this way, which is the left line, you go over the arch viaduct where Scarlowe is pulling the Foghorn cars. And then it goes to the clock tower. Another new destination. Quite like this one. It's a little bit unrealistic, but you'll see in my series. There's an episode about it. And this line just goes down over the rail crossing and back to that junction which went into the cement works. Now if we retrack back, here we have the middle line goes down and to another switch, and if you go left, here is the chocolate factory, and there's a sighting where Rusty's just chilling out with some giggling troublesome trucks, and he's about to take off on his way. And here's Oliver with the chocolate package cargo with Toad. And this goes over Arch Viaduct back to the coal hopper, and there's the windmill. So, yep, that's pretty cool. And if we go back, looks like Thomas has crashed into the station master's house. There's a Series 2 reference. There you go. And so it goes up over the Arch Viaduct. There's Elizabeth again. Down, and then into something cool, which I think is pretty cool. Here's Sir Handel over this crossing right next to Tidmouth. So this line right here, goes through just basically into the yards where Salty is, which I'll get back to in a second. Now this line just converges and goes, if you go this way, goes up over the mountain tunnel, which we said before. So yeah, that's how that line got. And then this line just goes in. Here's Gordon getting ready to take the express that James had just delivered to Knapford. So he's about to get started. Once again, 2003. And then there's the tired out Edward, which basically counts as a 2003. Or 2002, my bad. So, yeah, that's that line. But, yes, and then if I could just go this way straight, the fire station's right there. And then I'm actually going to detour. There's a switch. Switch goes under to where the Jack Frost Percy was. So, yes. And then over here, it just comes around into Knapford Station, where James is pulling the express, or was pulling the express. Now, that line just comes down, and here's a switch which goes into the yards. Here are 4 black cargo cars, and then the mail coach. And it looks like Tom has gotten a mess with the paint again. Or maybe that's just replaying, plotting his insanity from what happened after that. Well, calling all engines. If you see that, you'll know what happens after Thomas gets covered in paint, gets all angry, and yeah, I'm rambling. Anyways, this line goes straight through into the quarry. Now, the quarry's a little easy. Knocked over Jack. There you go. This line is literally just a switch into another switch. So it's sorta just a line through. And there's Mavis. Then over here we got Jack, Alfie, Max, and Monty. Then there's Thumper, and this line over here goes into the yards again. If you go back here, this line takes us to where Thomas was. Now anyways, back at the yards, I'm going to get a better view. There, layout's a little tight right here. So here we have Salty, which came back from the turntable. Just a sighting where I guess Murdoch just delivered his goods train. There's Murdoch. That train goes back to that switch, which basically just goes up over another arch viaduct or a stone viaduct and into that T-switch where Douglas was. And here's another sighting, and here's Toby with Henrietta and Fred and a caboose. And so yeah, that is the yard, or sort of, I guess a yard. It's sort of like a main switch. So I guess I'll call it a switch yard. Yeah, that works. And here's a level crossing, which is behind Tidmouth Station. There's the road again. And this line just goes up to where Molly was. And Molly is on Henry's Tunnel, which goes over the Rumbling Bridge to Harvey and the breakdown train. I believe that we have covered everything. So yes, just gonna give a quick overview. Now there weren't too many engines on here, as I didn't add them all, but they will be. Everybody that's in Tales from the Rails, they'll be there. I hope you enjoyed all the references from the classic series. I think I got them all. Yes, I believe so. And then there's the Arsburg line. So yeah, there's some new things and some old ideas and everything all mixed up into this layout. So I hope you enjoyed it. Once more, I enjoyed making it. It's always fun to make layouts, and I hope you guys enjoyed them. I like making these videos. They're always fun. I mean, a pain to the back, but always fun. So once more, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day. Thanks for all the support. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And once more, thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.